So for some warnings going up through this video, there will be some mentions of blood, gore, murder, violence, and all those gritty freaking fucking details. There will also be mentions of torture, maybe a little bit of malnutrition. A little bit, not too much, but you obviously can see it there, or hear it. And selling and all that, like, not like normal buying, selling, like monster selling. Yeah, monster selling. Yeah, y'all understand as soon as you get through and hear all the chapters and all that. So if you're sensitive to these topics, I do not suggest watching this video, and I also do not suggest you reading or hearing the series, because the series has all types of things like that, if you're really sensitive to that. So yeah, y'all have been warned. Hello everyone, so today we're going to be reading Monster My Friends Creepypasta X Beast Listener up in here. So this is not, we are not currently in chapter 19. We are actually in chapter 20. But for recap purposes, we're going to head back, a page back. So anyways, for the recap, if you guys do not remember, we had to hide in the city somewhere in an alleyway, because before this chapter, a little bit before, we were in some type of meeting at a park with Slenderman and the rest of the creepypastas over there, where we met Hoodie again, we saw Jeff the Killer, Ben, Masky, and etc, right? So we ended up kind of sneaking away from it, because Slenderman was like planning on doing some type of experiment, and then Jeff was also like planning on trying to like cook us, because we're quote unquote the biggest freaking fracking chicken he's ever seen in his gosh darn life. He's letting his intrusive thoughts win. I'm not saying that it's good, but I'm saying is I agree with him. Like, I agree, but that doesn't mean it's good. And yeah, so we kind of had to run away, like sneak away, and luckily we did successfully. No one saw us, and we're hiding in an alleyway, right? And we're just like kind of overthinking everything. Then as we're overthinking, we hear a familiar voice, tend to find out it's both of our ex-classmates, the ones that we last saw before we turned into whatever the hell we are. And we decided, you know what, we're going to be a sneaky agent. We're going to follow them. So we somehow followed them, and with determination and anxiety going through the roof. And we end up kind of following them to this apartment complex. Luckily, it was enough to where we can jump in and, and because, unbeknownst to them, they opened the window perfect for us to go through. And we hit something as soon as we entered, because I think we hit the sink or something like that. And all that. So we're trying to be extra sneaky. But as soon as we were trying to like regain our stuff to follow them through, we kind of found out Jeff the Killer was actually planning on killing these ex-classmates, because they quote unquote stole his fame or something like that. So we know that he must know something about what they did. Well, not all of it, but some part. So we hit our head again. Then eventually we followed him, and he wanted to like immediately barge in, but we pushed him back, prevented him from like going, especially like squishing him against the door while they were chanting some type of demonic ritual. And not to mention, like, this apartment is probably like fucking disgusting and trashy. So it's something. And basically we listened in on what the hell was going on, and we tried to creep them out as soon as they entered, because they were like, "Do you hear that?" And then freaking Jeff the Killer ended up freaking like, because someone opened the door, was about to open it, I think, and he literally legitimately busted through that motherfucking door. He's like, "Listen, I'm done." What the? It was so funny. It was so funny. And then as we enter inside, we see pentagrams, walls covered in top to bottom with writing, that we could not understand. It's carcasses of animals, birds, cats, mice, everything, every nasty thing you can think of. And we were like, the last thing we said was like, what a disgusting mess. And you're right, it is a disgusting mess. Ugh. How do people live like this? I have to question, bro. When they're crazy like that, you can't question anything. Anyway, we are officially in chapter 20. The next few moments are filled with silence. The three of them sat surprised on the stained hardwood floor. Jeff giggled. His grip on the knife tightened as it held out before himself. Finally, you cult bastards are a hard bunch to find. The oldest of the group scrambled to their feet, crushing the old leather book within their arms. They growled at Jeff, backing themselves closer to the wall. The other two sat far more startled than their benefactor, continuing to shake at the sight of Jeff's face and well-known reputation. I stayed in the hall, unnoticed, while looking over the situation, keeping away from the light of the lit candles littering the corners. I was not expecting Jeff to appear. Hell, I had not expected to run into my old classmates in the streets. I had not thought about the possibility that they had no idea what I had become, what they created. Now the scenario I made in my head is jumbled. The outcome has changed. These three are dying tonight. The two remaining on the floor squealed as Jeff approached. His usually deep, gruff voice heightened in volume as the excitement overwhelmed him. Well, quite late for a seance, isn't it? He's forcefully tugged the collar on their shirt, bowing his head awkwardly and uncomfortably closer to theirs. His grin widened as his blade slipped past the crying person's lips. Don't you think it's time to go to sleep? Why is such a basic sentence, but an awesome character? We'll see. My heartbeat stopped for a second, my eyes unable to leave the sight of Jeff's blade splitting the flesh of his victim's cheek, quick and clean, far more professional and smoother compared to his own. The stiffness of his execution did not fit Jeff's personality. His victim cried, screamed for their companions to assist in the rescue. Alas, neither of the others moved to help. The one with the book did, however, make a run for the door, sprinting past Jeff and his bleeding captive. The cocky grin vanished from their face when we made eye contact. A few seconds too late on their part as they ran face first into my body and collapsed to the ground. Jeff's crazed laugh grew louder as he paused his stabbing to look over at us. Great, that was great, Birdie. Just sit there and block the door while old Jeffy has his fun. Like, okay, fool. He sank his knife once more into the corpse, adding to the numerous marks impaled into the clothing. I looked down upon the ex-friend who clutched the book firmly as though feared to be taken away. I remember this person to be a lot more righteous in their words and actions. When did it all go wrong? You move, you monster! My lord demands I live! Their face flushed red with frustration. They stomped their foot against the hardwood, yet they dared not approach the monster before the door. The person who stood silent finally spoke up. Their bright eyes transfixed past the bookkeeper and pierced into mine. Their shaking suddenly stopped, their pale face losing more color as their eyes teared up. When the tears finally spilled, small sniffles and gross sobs fell from behind their hands. Why, I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. Please don't do this to us. The bookkeeper looked into his living companion. A snarl crinkled on their face, yet his demeanor remained unreadable, unmoved. The numbness I feel at this moment could not be explained. When I heard my name be called, I had a flash of joy, but it vanished along with the last of my longing. I understand. I simply wanted reassurance. To hear the regretful words of those who had wronged me. To know my feeling of betrayal are validated. To know wholeheartedly that they are unforgivable people. A long whine escaped my mouth, comparable to the wheeze of a dying man. I have read stories of many betrayals, some historical, some fictional. The most desirable outcome I could feel for the betrayed is a scenario where there is revenge. I must say, the stench of blood Jeff filled the room with has rejuvenated my appetite, uncovering a new, different variety of longing. Jeff stood over the mangled, dismembered body, his work clearly overdone. Jeff stretched, rolling his shoulders before advancing upon the person before me. The ear-piercing wail of defiance scratched my sensitive ears. "You will not have me!" They continued to yell obscenities, thrashing away from Jeff, who continued to smile despite harsh words being thrown at him. The thrashing had caused the book to be tossed away, ending with a more aggressive fight and yelling. I am once again being ignored. By these two, at least. The last survivors sat against the wall, their knees to their chest, rocking back and forth with constant contact on my being. You came back. You were not supposed to come back. I trotted into the room, numbly stepping through the puddle of my once friend's blood, placing myself inches away from this person's feet. I looked down upon their trembling form, my sympathy nowhere to be found. What do the heroes do when they have the bad guys at their feet? Stick a sword between their ribs and pass a few words before everything ends? Spout how shitty their actions have made my life while crying about how things did not need to turn out the way they have? Or do I just watch my companion tear apart all three of them? You have to believe me, Wayne. I didn't want to. They said we would include you. I had no idea they were planning on slitting your throat. They began to hyperventilate, holding their chest. The glimmer of a box cutter in their other hand distracted me. The soft, unheard whispers passed their lips. Wanted you to meet the Great One. The action is swift, messy. The person brought the cutter to their own carotid artery and cut through their skin from one side of their neck to the other, successfully covering their chest and the floor in a flood of red liquid, spurting and spitting. The person's eyes dulled quickly, their body twitching before simply falling still. It stank. The fresh fumes blinded my sight and burned my eyes. What a useless and cowardly way to die. I feel as though I gained more questions than answers, and I am left with a sense of dissatisfaction. A whistle cleared the smog over my mind, dragging my attention to the blood-soaked Jeff who stood over the body of the bookkeeper. His expression is the opposite mine would have been: satisfied, proud, the look of fulfillment of one's mission. Good birdie, he giggled gaily, smearing the blood from his blade onto his face. His irises dilated. Come on now, those screams would have been heard by the neighbors. Cops will be here any moment. I nodded, following behind Jeff, who started for the window I had entered. I could not help glancing over my shoulder at my old companions, as bloody and face-scarred they had become. I almost tripped over the damn book on my way out. It laid in the middle of my trail mockingly. I ignored my desire to kick it away, retrieving the soft lever between my jaws and continuing my way. I find it interesting. I can remember my companions with these 3 lifeless corpses, yet I'm unable to remember their face or place a name. Why did I care about them in the first place? I mean, I would care if I would want to get revenge, bro. You know? Chapter 21. Jeff and I lingered on the street before the apartment. A foolish thing to do considering how I look and the blood he's covered in. I feel as though it is best to allow this mass murder to leave before He has threatened to eat me after all, and I dare not lead him back to my shelter. The spring nights is the perfect stage of coolness, warm air, and a cool breeze. It is a reassuring, nostalgic feeling, reminding me of the days I slacked on my middle school homework, leisurely staring at my window at the tall decorative grasses lining the outskirts of my old yard. The calming sound the bristles made in the breeze. The sensation fills me with an unnatural calmness. I had witnessed a murder. Hell, I'm an acting accomplice. Yet, I feel so sincere now. I may have just fallen asleep on my feet, allowing the world to wash away before my eyes. I do not completely understand the feeling. Strangely, I don't care much. Perhaps I'm in a mental shock, a numb, comatose state. I shook my head, eyeing my blood-stained talons resting on the cracked concrete. I think I'm losing my mind. Perhaps it's a side effect of long exposure to what I am now. I have read so many true crime books that perhaps I subconsciously conditioned myself for this sort of situation. So, Jeff cleared his throat. He stopped his slow pace. His posture drooped and saggy. I guess that's all for me. I feel generous, so I'll have to hunt you down another day. Jeff stretched his arms, releasing a loud yawn. It is hard to tell with his wide, dull eyes, but he's probably exhausted. The bags he carries are far more revealed than the last I had seen on him. What was that bitch in there babbling about to you anyways? Please forgive me, Wyatt. I didn't mean it, Wyatt. I have skilled babies with more courage than that. Maybe they were on drugs or some shit. Jeff spat on the ground. His nose crinkled in dissatisfaction. He wiped the extra strand of saliva with his sleeve. While doing so, he eyed the book in my grasp. His eyes showed interest for only a moment before turning to their usual clouded visual. Why the fuck? But whatever. I'll catch you around, Birdie. Sleep with one eye. Do you even have eyes? Just watch yourself, chicken wing. He spun on his heels, casually strolling down the sidewalk. He did not seem to care if anyone saw him in such a state, not even taking a moment to pull his hood over his head to hide his face. How this guy has yet to be caught, I'll never understand. The night stood quiet. Being by myself once more left an odd loss in the back of my mind. With everything that has happened, I don't think it is best I'm left alone for too long. Maybe I should get a pet, maybe a rock. I'm sure it is the only thing I'm sure it is the only thing I could keep alive. I huffed, readjusting my grip on the leather-faced book firmly clamped in my beak. It holds plenty of secrets. Maybe even the answer to the questions I have been asking myself. I would be heartbroken if I mistakenly dropped it or lost it somehow. Honestly, though, it is so nice to have some sort of book back in my possession. Even if it is a strange occultist Bible of some sort. I'll have to thoroughly study it from front to cover. Good chance it has an explanation to my problem. Now that I can take a good look at the leather covering, it does not match any hide I know about. There is an odd triangular-shaped star on the cover, burned into the flesh as though it had been when the creature was alive before dismantling. It's old, but it's in exceptional condition. I may have to mend some tears in the pages in the future. The blare of red and blue startled me. It sounded not 2 blocks away. The local officers took their sweet-ass time in advancing into the scene. I'm already a good distance away from the vicinity, but it is always best to be careful. My feet sped up, beelining off the street, ramming my big body through the decorative hedges and white picket fences. The area slowly becoming more familiar until I arrived back at the park. Not a creepy individual in sight. Oh, thank God. No Slenderman. I already have lived through one threatening encounter with a glutton. I don't want to be bisected by a faceless skyscraper. Now that I think about it, I remember Sally being in the area. I was so caught up in coming face to face with the Slenderman, I could not fully concentrate on the surrounding participants. So she is with them. That's really all I can think about the situation. The young girl I saved that day actually lives with monsters. In that regard, does that not make her a monster as well? I stopped my feet, standing still and quiet in the smoke-filled woods. I hover my scaled, clawed hand before my masked face. A monster, I thought? I don't have the right to judge now, do I? I sigh, my posture falling as I continued my way back home. I just want to curl up and sleep, wrap myself in that moss-covered bed sheet, listen to the sounds of my annoying neighboring owls. I am well due for a rest. The ground beneath me turned crisp. The smoke hovered thick, heavier in the tract compared to only minutes prior. Black. Everything is black. The forest floor lay charred. The once proud trees blackened to the core. Smoke softly waved from patches of dead reeds. Everything had burned in this area. Nothing is recognizable any longer. My heartbeat quickened along with my pace. I spun my head around the area, scanning the treetops for my sanctuary. The dawn sun illuminated the smoke in dry white glow. I could hear nothing, see nothing. The smoke filled my lungs, did nothing to deter my emotional understanding. This part of the forest is gone. And as for my home, not a stick remained in the land of ash. Once more, I have nothing left. That is so sad. No, that's really sad. That is so sad. R.I.P. Our home, man. That's just sad, man. It's okay. We're gonna make a better one. Yeah. Chapter 22. Walking. Constant walking. I had no destination or schedule, no home to return to, no friends or family to shelter me. I am lost in more than one way. I had already been exhausted after staying up all night, but now that the sun is up and the sweltering heat of the day beats down upon my feathery body, I feel like passing out, using the last of my strength to maneuver my heavy legs forward and to keep a tight grip on my last possession, the book. What a strange possessiveness I feel for it. The contents have yet to be disclosed to me. I feel as though losing this object may be what is all left of my coherent mind with it. My claw catches on a rock, nearly sending me tumbling to the ashy remains below. Not here. I can't pass out here. There is no cover to shield me from the sun's rays or prying eyes. I scan the dusty terrain in the hopes of recognizing something. Anything to tell me where I may be. I do indeed remember this area, or vaguely considering the shape of it is now. The small pond lay glistening and still before me, its foliage left almost untouched by the destruction the rest of the surrounding forest suffered. The shade offered by the brush is too much to deny. I damn near collapsed in the bank in desperation to quench my thirst. I landed face first into the water, my mask slipping from its place and into the drink. The lack of cover didn't register straight away, being too in tune with my thirst and lapping up as much liquid as my tongue could grasp. That is, until my eyes met my reflection. I stilled, not daring to disconnect my gaze, inspecting the being before me. I looked like, well, me. Well, as me as I could be in the body of a monster. I am relieved that I can still see myself behind those eyes of gold. Such a rich and bright color, both predatory and gentle, calming yet intense. Though my face holds no human comparisons, I can still see who I was. That is the best outcome I could have asked for. A smile flashed in the reflection, quick but genuine. I can't remember when I smiled last. It's a foreign feeling at this point. It feels nice, though, for this monstrous face to be capable of showing such a tender and gentle expression. I leaned closer to my reflection. Hoodie was right. I am indeed quiet owl-like. From the eyes to the beak. There are some areas, some may argue, such as my elongated mouth, but it is intriguing nonetheless. I breathed a sigh of relief once more, allowing myself to enjoy the moment of revelation, to remind myself that I'm still here. The knowledge took a large weight from my shoulders. It's something I no longer need to worry about, for now anyways. I rinsed my claws of blood, retrieving the drenched plain mask from the shore. I ogled it for a moment before replacing it onto my face. My limbs sway with fatigue as I turn to the enticing shaded shelter. My back legs buckled on me, leaving me to drag the rest of my body under the brush. The cool cover lulls my weary body into a state of approval, finally understanding that I may now relax. I curl in on myself, sheltering the leather tone between my forearm. Now that my body can relax, my mind runs on what is left of my energy, asking itself questions on where I am supposed to go from here. A lot of options crossed me, but none so situated I can approve of them right away. I have to sit on it. No point in rushing, I suppose. I have all the time in the world. I smile. A smile full of doubt, full of self-pity. I know, deep down, I'll figure things out. I always do. But for the meantime, allow me to wallow in my circumstances once more. My eyelids sealed themselves. The gentle breeze stirred the last living leaves in a soft rhythm. The refreshing aroma of damp moss drowned out the subtle hint of smoke, allowing my consciousness to finally slip. I feel a stray tear fall from my eye, so small and yet so delicate. Delicate yet so heavy against my skin. That was a shitty nap. It had been a dreamless sleep, but I don't feel well rested. My limbs ached, my eyes still heavy and more likely red from crying. My big body so sore from the strain of running it weighs like lead. I flip off my mask, carefully rubbing the sleep from my eye. Now it would be a nice time to eat those berries I like. Maybe some walnuts? If I'm lucky, I could catch a fish to fill my empty belly. But glancing around and releasing a sigh, with not much else to do for the moment, I settled with turning my attention to the book. I must accept the reality of my situation. There is no use wallowing any longer than I already have. If I continue like this, it may get me killed. I ran a finger over the leather cover. It is hard to feel the texture with these hands, but it still is a gesture I enjoy doing before opening a book for the first time. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I'm a little nervous. Just a little. I took a deep breath and turned away from my fingers as I cracked open the book. I half expected a small imp to jump out at me, given the cult-like circumstances I went through to retrieve it. But alas, my disappointment continues. The first few pages are oddly blank. The dull cream paper is left so brittle, I fear turning them. The pages that did have some writing is incomprehensible. The red pen so neatly and finely glided over the paper as it is admirable and disheartening to not be able to understand it. My head perked up as I swiped over another page. A large illustration of a humanoid creature filled the entirety of the right parchment. The left header, written in bold lettering, placed so inclusive and I can't say that word. We're skipping that word. I felt a shiver as I skimmed it over. Children of Pazuzu, the demon king of the wind. I have read about him before. He is blamed for many droughts and storm-related catastrophes. He is considered evil, but at the same time, he protects people from evil. What a guy. I snored out a laugh. For what I have read, this creature does not have children. How strange. I flipped the page and cocked my head. Page after page, I flipped through the book. My patience beginning to run thin with it. This damn book has nothing but mythical monsters from around the world. It's nothing but a fictional novel. I slammed the book shut, standing quickly, ignoring the heaviness of my body. The book held firmly over my head in anticipation to throw the thing far into the water. However, I knew I could not do that. It is my last possession, after all. I sit on my haunches, intently glaring at the tune. I don't know how the information regarding harpies and hippogriff can assist me. I don't even understand why my mind is so content having it around. But that's how it is, I suppose. The sky is clear of smoke. The wind must have shifted to town. Now it is best to just leave in case some sort of emergency responder shows up to put out the rest of the fire. I don't think I can handle such an intense altercation, as mentally drained as I am. Leaving the lake area is tremendous. Strenuous. Following the mountainside for hours while avoiding human activity when there are hundreds of hiking trails is burdensome. I cannot stress it enough. To my fortune, I am left undisturbed. For the most part, some asshole kid mistook me for a bear and threw a rock at my head like a pitcher. Aside from him and some screaming lady, no one else noticed my presence. I am happy with the progress I have made, but I am no longer recognize this part of the forest. The greenery had returned to the surroundings a few hours ago, and I can be for certain that I have not foraged into this area before. Yup. Yep! I jump back as a strong shock connects with my shoulder. I am unable to see what the cause of the shock is at first, but as I squint, I could just make out the wire wrenching horizontally through some brush, so thin I might have mistaken it for a spider web. A closer look revealed a thin row of fibers, all braced by camouflaged supports. I poke the wire once more. Twice. A quick snap of electricity traveled through the conductor as I relieved my talon from the object. A high-powered fence used to tell us something to keep in or out. A high-powered fence someone had gone through great lengths to hide something. Someone does not want someone to find out. I wonder what they are protecting. There is no true reason for me to enter such an area, aside from it blocking my route. I can, however, see an open field behind it, and that could give me some space to see where I am going. I scratch my beak, rubbing a claw across my jaw and thought, well, it's not like I have anything else to lose. Gotta take some risk in life, as my cousin says. I push against the supporting metal spikes with my shoulder, leaning my body weight into it until it bent a substantial amount. The wire snapped under the strain, opening a subduable space for me to hop over. A four-legged hop, so stiff and strained. He did die young, though. Oh, yeah, he did die young, though. Chapter 23. The field is vast. The long grass have recently yellowed under the late spring sun. It's quiet. The only noise being the breeze and swaying brush. The atmosphere is anything but peaceful, though. Visually, there is nothing out of the ordinary, but my gut is telling me this is not a place I should be. The air is so thick you could cut it with a knife. So heavy, my body instinctively crouches itself below the tall grass to hide. Not knowing what is wrong is scaring me more than knowing. So suffocating. Then I see them. The two humans halfling rifles over their shoulders, both following the border between the trees and the field. I can see them perfectly despite the distance, and I can easily say they are not hunters who just so happen to be in that area. Clothed in black, their face shrouded with a scowl, and that beautiful sparkling pendant I had taken away from that was taken away from me by the Slenderman, swaying on about on both of their belts. They look less vigilante and more like assassins. I raised my head above the grass to get a better view. Why are such people in this kind of place? Should they not be hiding in town? I glanced around the vicinity, scanning the tree line for any other potential vigilante members. I have an urge to get a dose of that adrenaline I had the first time they attacked me. At the same time, I'm not a fucking idiot who waltzes his head into the fray, jostling the last two marbles they call a brain. Come on, YN. It's not like you're going to do this for the thrill. You're just scouting, monitoring, keeping an observant eye on an enemy who wants to skin you. A shudder runs through me, aggravating my sore muscles, just for a bit. No longer than a bit. I don't know why I'm suddenly so bad at making good decisions. Perhaps I have really become bird-brained, or I inherited the curious nature of a converse species. Regardless, my stomach refused to stop its constrictive activity, the same as I chose to ignore it. And holy shit, what a find I found. The two murderous members had been on a route to a finely fenced mansion, smack dab in the center of the field, that had been obstructed by a moderate hill. The building's style, so typical, yes, spectacular, painted a porcelain white from roof to base, a fountain misting the green lawn in an inspiring rainbow, and the largest lion statues guarding the stone path leading to the rich owner's door. The two didn't bat an eye at the layout. In contrast, to my shaking body that felt discarded behind the white picket fence, separating me from the golden zone. Blast it. How many times do I have to tell you? The creature is fine where it is. There's no way for it to get out, and no one's going to find out. The loud, brash voice overrung the fountain's jets. The elderly owner standing at the door before his two guests with a red and obviously irritated face. The man so round one would fear he would roll down a hill, and so short the other two average figures towered over him. He screamed and yelled so fast and for so long I could not make out what he was trying to say. I started feeling bad for the other two, as they had not had the chance to say a word throughout the whole spiel. Finally, as the elderly man paused to take a breath, one figure put a hand up to stop the man from continuing his rant, allowing himself a few words to end the conversation. We just wanted to check in on it. The CPs are not giving up their search. Though you bought the creature, we are still responsible for it. We will take our leave after confirming your possession. The old man huffs, shutting his front door and leisurely striding across his yard. He flicked his hand over his shoulder, beckoning for the two to follow as one would a servant. The two looked at one another, but chose not to start any more unneeded interaction, following quietly and a few extra steps behind. The owner brought the two to his garage, turning around and stepping aside, no longer intending to assist in any way. The arrogance is not only in his words, but actions, but reflections in his posture as well. It makes me worry, really. Such an egotistical man can be hiding in his garage. I held my breath as one cloaked figure propped open the garage door, shining the dawn sun over a scrawny creature shackled up head to toe in chains. Its hairy, lean body displayed healing and open wounds like a sad, ripped rug. The thing didn't bother to turn its uninvited guest, choosing to stare at the back wall and hiding its face. You see? Still where you left it. Now, if you would excuse me, now hang on now. Make it turn around for us. We have to see its face. The old man clicked his tongue. Does it matter? It's the same damn thing. We have to make absolutely sure it's the same one. After what happened last night, I'm not taking any chances of a fake replacement. He approached the beast wearily, as though the crippled, chained animal had the capability of doing much of anything in such a poor state. It did take more notice of the approaching presence, though, allowing itself a skeptical glance over its black-maned shoulder. I watched wide-eyed, horrified by the inclusion of a cat-tailed whip that had been pulled from the man's cloak. The beast shifts uneasily, but refuses to face his body away from the wall. Be a good boy. Come here, seedeater. No! Oh my gosh, no. I just have no words. I have no words. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry I have to leave you on this cliffhanger, but oh my god! Poor seedeater. Okay, so now we know what the hell's happened to seedeater. So first things first, he got kidnapped or something somehow. He got caught. He's mistreated and eventually got sold. He's even more mistreated, probably starved and hasn't eaten in a while or anything. While he's been, obviously bought by this ugly, nasty ass, ugly ass old man that's rich, apparently. And now the hunters, or the people that caught Seed Eater, or people that work for the anti-creepypasta shit, is now making sure whoever they sold their things to, or the thing that they caught to, making sure it's the real thing and not the fake thing. So, this might or might not be the first thing they have sold to people, but it is scary, because, man, don't be doing Seed Eater like that, bro. Don't be doing my Seed Eater like that. But anyways, let me know what you guys think is going to happen to Seed Eater in the next chapter. Let me know what's going to happen to the poor fella. I know it probably ain't going to be good. But, before you think so negatively, what do you think we are going to do about it? Because remember, we are there. We are witnessing every single little thing that's happening to Seed Eater right now. And we're monitoring and everything, because we didn't know Seed Eater was there. We just wanted to get through the fence and go past it so we can continue on our merry way. But we stayed to find out what the hell was going on, because something smelled a little sus. So now we found out where the hell Seed Eater is. So, what do you think we're going to do about it? Do you think we're going to still be monitoring around before we go and try and save the day? Or are we going to go and try and get some reinforcemements? Let me know in the comments down below, because it's going to get juicy as we get more and more into the story. It's going to get more juicy. It is. It definitely is. Definitely is. But right before we completely and inevitably end this video, it is time for... It's time for 100 short scary stories. So we are in part 4. School. Or excuse me, not part 4. 4. School. Everyone loves the first day of school, right? New year, new classes, new friends. It's a day full of potential and hope, before all the dreary depressions of reality show up to ruin all the fun. I like the first day of school for a different reason, though. You see, I have a sort of power. When I look at people, I can sense a sort of aura around them, a colored outline based on how long that person must live. Most everyone I meet around my age is surrounded by a solid green hue, which means they have plenty of time left. A fair amount of them have a yellowish-orange tinge to their auras, which tend to mean a car crash or some other tragedy. Anything that takes people before their time, as they say. The real fun is when the auras venture into the red end of the spectrum, though. Every now and again, I'll see someone who's basically a walking stoplight. Those are the ones who get murdered or kill themselves. It's such a rush to see them and know that their time is numbered. With that in mind, I always get to class very early so I can scout out my classmates' fates. The first kid who walked in was basically radiating red. I chuckled to myself. Too damn bad, bro. But as people kept walking in, they all had the same intense glow. I finally caught a glimpse of my rose-tinted reflection in the window, but I was too stunned to move. Our professor stepped in and locked the door. His aura a sickening shade of green. Oh. I thought it was going to head a different direction, but it headed another direction. So, for the ones who didn't understand, I shall explain. So basically what's happening here, as you know, we have a power to sense when someone will die. Or someone has like a shorter time to live, like green and, mixed colors in that area. Long time. Orangish, reddish, still gonna live, but not much time left. Like kind of like orangish, yellowish, not much time left. And then for red, it's just straight up, you're about to die very, very fucking soon. And then when we came to find out, whenever we were in the classroom, we noticed all of our classmates red. What that means that we're probably going to die immediately. And I noticed that they literally said my rose-tinted reflection in the window. So that means we're also red. And my intuition says that we're also red. And since the professor is green, a sickening shade of green, that means that the professor is going to do something to the class that would basically make them all die. I thought this was gonna be, you know, pew pew shooting, school pew pew. You know what I mean? So, but it went in a different direction. So basically, most likely the professor is gonna kill all his students. Ding. Or that the professor survives and everyone else dies. So yeah, that's the explanation. That's kind of interesting though. I never seen this one. So quite interesting. I like it. Anyways, I do hope you guys did enjoy this fan fiction and this 100 scary short stories so far. Obviously both will be in the link down in the description. Anyways, I am like, all I gotta say is the next chapters are what's gonna happen with that are involving seedeater might be kind of sad. I'm not even gonna lie, it might be a little bit sad, because you must remember that Eyeless Jack must be looking for seedeater for a couple weeks, maybe a month by now. So my guy's pretty much been tortured left and right, probably. So please keep that in mind, because it's gonna get a bit dark as we go along the chapters. You know what I'm saying? But this is Creepypasta after all, am I right? Anywho, sadly, your girls sadly gotta go. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more amazing videos, guys. I shall see y'all in the next feature video of either this series or another series. Depends on what you watch or what you like. But anyways, you girls gotta go. Bye and peace.